Hello! Welcome back to another week of Saturday Morning Stories. My name is Ian. Thanks for coming. So, it's summertime, and I think that summertime is a great time to do things that are creative. Does anybody have any favorite creative things they like doing? Maybe you like drawing or singing. Today, the first book I'm going to read is about writing a song. It's called Khalida and the Most Beautiful Song by Amanda Moeckel. And now this is about writing a song, but it's also about when you get an idea for something and what it's like to try to bring that song to life or catch the song. Khalida and the Most Beautiful Song by Amanda Moeckel. It looks to me like Khalida plays the piano. Perhaps it was the twinkling of a bright star or the wings of a high-flying owl that awoke the song one night. It was time. See the nighttime and look at all these pretty swirls. That is just like a song in the air. Khalida was between barely awake and fast asleep when the song swirled into her bedroom. It tickled her fingers and dipped into her ear. See, the song comes in through the window. It was a beautiful song. She had to catch it. So, what does Khalida do? Gets out of bed and goes down to the piano. Trying to catch the song in the middle of the night. The song that came to her in her sleep. Back to bed, Khalida. You can play in the morning, says one of Khalida's parents. The middle of the night isn't always parents' favorite time to be playing the piano. After breakfast, she tried to play the song again, but her ears couldn't hear it. Her fingers couldn't remember it. She played the first few notes over and over, willing the rest of the song to come. Time to catch the bus, Khalida. While the song was there at night, it just wasn't there in the morning to be caught. But then, perhaps it was the butterfly settling on the windowsill, or the sun sending a rainbow across the chalkboard that made Khalida hear the song again. She would catch it this time. So, Khalida leaves her desk and walks down the hallway, following the song to the piano at school. Do you see the swirls in the air? That's like when the song is there, waiting to be caught. But back to class, Khalida. Now is not the time, says one of the teachers at school, or maybe the principal. Being at school during your class is not the time to play the piano either. At her piano lesson after school, she thought for sure she'd be able to catch the song. But once she warmed up and practiced her scales, her head was filled with all the wrong notes. She plunked away, unable to find the tune. Time to go, Khalida, at the end of the lesson. Do you know scales? Scales is what you do when you're playing notes, warming up on the piano. But once you do that, you might get the song out of your head and you can't catch it. Maybe it was the shimmer of light on the fountain or the skittering of pigeons over breadcrumbs. But pretty soon, Khalida heard the song again. When out at the park, do you see the song? Going through the air. This time, she had to catch it. So she ran home, back to the piano. Music flowed through her fingers, Onto the keys and into the air, a crowd gathered and grew. For a few moments, the people forgot everything else. Jeremy forgot he was late for a meeting. Camille forgot about being bullied at school. Tulip forgot her grandmother was sick. Did you know that a song could do all those things? It could have that much power. All they could hear was what Khalida played. Look at all the people gathering around to hear the most beautiful song. It was the most beautiful song. I hope you liked Khalida and the most beautiful song. It just makes me think about what it's like when you get an idea. It could be a song, it could be a story, a drawing, and you just want so badly to make it real and catch it. So now I'm going to talk about another kind of creativity. This is about one of my other favorite things, and it's books. It's called Look, I Wrote a Book, and You Can Too, by Sally Lloyd-Jones and Neal Layton. And look at this. Wrote a book, holding the book, holding the book. And this is about how to write a book. Look, I wrote a book, and you can too. When you want to write a book, first you need a good idea. You can get one from your brain, your notebook, people, staring out the window, and all around you really, wherever you go. Look at this. This is all inside of a thought bubble. Basically, you can write any book you like, except here's what you have to know, what you're talking about. For instance, if you were writing a book about dinosaurs, but you don't know any good dinosaur names, like Diplodocus, Triceratops, or Stegosaurus, or even how to spell Cretaceous, that's a tough one, no one will believe anything you say. Once upon a time, there was a sausage-osaurus. Baloney. No one would believe a story like that. Here's what else you have to know. Who it's for. So, if you're writing a book for your grandma, for example, but it's all about tractors and dump trucks, she will be snoring because it is not even interesting to her. Vroom, chug. That's sleeping sounds, snoring sounds. Grandma doesn't like those things. You should write about things grandmas love, like the olden days, or tap dancing, or you. When I was a tiny baby, it seems like just yesterday. See how excited Grandma is about that kind of book? If you're writing a bedtime book for babies, you can't have scary monsters inside, or they will be screaming and not sleeping. Wah! Wah! Plus, you can't use big words like fragile or hilarious because they won't understand. You have to use only small ones like blocks or bug. Next, you sit still and do quiet concentrating and get all your crayons in a row. You must also get a table, a pencil, paper, a stapler, if you're allowed, and most importantly, from your imagination, you come up with a plan for your story. Plus, you definitely need a story. Basically, a story has a hero, like me, something she wants, like maybe a horse, something stopping her, like maybe a teacher or a baby or a criminal, something happening, she spies a horse in a field, what goes wrong, the horse runs away, how she get what she wants in the end, like she finds the horse again and tames it and rides home. So that's one way you could go with a story. At last, you're completely ready to start writing. So you write a beginning. Here is a bad beginning. First, we stood up. Next, we sat down. That would definitely win the most boring book ever prize. That's a totally boring story, right? Here is a good beginning. Praying mantises have 6 legs and mandibles and eat their husbands. Did you know that? This is nonfiction because you absolutely did not make it up. That really happens. Or, a daddy had some children. One day, he lost them. This is fiction because you made it up. Then you write the middle, where all the stuff goes, after the beginning of the story. The daddy was worried. He looked everywhere. Where could he have put them? In the middle of the story, Daddy will be looking in a shoe, in a toilet, in a cave, even on a plane. After that, you write the ending, which comes last. Suddenly he found them. They were hiding in the closet. He was very happy. The end. If you want people to cry, you could also write a sad ending. Unfortunately, he didn't ever find them. He was very disappointed. The end. Always put the end so everyone knows the story's over. If you put to be continued, everyone has to read your next book. There's so many options when writing a story. You can make it whatever you want, but this is giving us a lot of stuff to think about. Now, have your juice and snack. Get your juice and your snack, and you're all set to start writing your book. This looks very chaotic. Look at all the different ideas, all the different ways you can go. You probably should have words and pictures in your book. If you have no words, some people might not know what's happening and say, I don't get it. And if you don't have one picture, then it might send everyone to sleep. When you're finished, you can show your book to your friends, and they might say things like, this baby is not very fascinating, or I think we need more bunnies in here. Here's what else they might say. That was the most fantastic book ever. Or, are those bunnies or dinosaurs? Your friend who can't tell what your drawing is. Or, can there be a lightsaber? Says the friend who likes Star Wars. Or, that was really long, says the friend who likes shorter stories. What do you think? Is this book too long? Just right? Then, when you go away and draw better bunnies and cut the part about the boring baby just sleeping, which means you revise it, which means it gets even better. You take all the comments everyone made and you can make changes if you want. Now you stick the pages together and make page numbers. You must be able to count. It's important that it's in the right order. Next, you draw your best picture with lots of colors in it, and it goes on the front. And that is the cover. Space Bunny and the Fascinating Baby, written and illustrated by, that's where you put your name. On the back, you put what famous people thought of your book. If you look at the back of some books, that's what it'll say. Quotes from famous people. Then you make a beautiful portrait of yourself and underneath write about the author and give important historical facts like how old you are, how many sisters and brothers you have, your favorite color, if you have a pet, how many millions of cartwheels you can do without even stopping. So, we're getting pretty close to finishing writing our book once we have the front cover and the back cover. Now, you get people to buy your book. For instance, you could Be friendly. Give them cookies to try to get them to read your book. Let them play with your trucks, or tie them to their chair if they didn't really want to stop and read your book. But that's not the best idea to get them to read your book, I don't think. And that's how to write a book and be an author. And then you just go back to being a normal person. Or you could start your next book, which is called a sequel, and write things like how to write another book. That would be the sequel to this book. The Return of the Spiders on the Ceiling. The Daddy Who Lost His Children Again. The Other Shoe Comes Home. And, oh, the end. Or is it to be continued? So that's the end of Look, I Wrote a Book, and you can too. All right, I hope that gave you some ideas for how to be creative, and maybe you can try to write a song on a piano, or maybe even you could just sing a song that you get an idea for. Or you could write a story. It could be a book like that, or it could just be really short, and you could just tell the story to someone who you care about and who wants to spend time with you. Thanks so much for coming, and I hope you have a fun, creative summer. We'll see you next time.